Hey, Steven?
Yep.
All this wood. Where did it all come from?
Trees?
Thank you.
We should probably get it to the road.
And by we, you mean...
You.
Of course. All right.
We're a little more than 4 months in. Duffy has definitely improved in his strength, speed, and stamina. So we are going to focus on various ways of picking things up and putting them back down. So the first instance of this is rather practical. We're using all of the muscles that we've built so far to help clean up a bunch of wood that is in Duffy's front yard. Trying to pick things up with proper form and carry them with a braced core in a quick manner. This wood is left over from some work that was being done on Duffy's house, and so we saw it as an opportunity to use it as a method of training.
And I don't know if you'd call this convenience or just my own curse, but while we were doing this, a city garbage truck came over, and it was one of the kinds that picks up big things like wood and metal and whatnot. So it kind of became a race to see how much wood I could get down to the curb and back, and just keep doing that before they finally left. I think I managed to get about 3 piles of wood there that they picked up with their big robot arm crane thing. And all while I was doing this, I also had to make sure that I kept my pants up.
Even though Duffy's weight loss hasn't been exactly what we wanted it to be, his body is changing, as you can see, as his 4XL pants do not stay on.
True, these are the kinds of pants that require a belt normally, and I'm not wearing one, but even my 4XL drawstring track pants, or my drawstring shorts, even tying those as tightly as I can get the strings to go, they still have been falling off lately. So I'm going to have to make a trip to the store this week to remedy that. In addition to the squatting and the carrying and stuff, another thing that I realized I was training here is my grip strength, because some of this wood has nails poking out of it in some really awkward positions. So I'm unfortunately not able to just pick it up in whatever way is easiest or most comfortable. Some of this stuff I have to pick it up and hope that I don't drop it.
All right,
I'm just
try to
pincing it with
hug
my fingers.
those 3 things together. You okay? You all right? Duffy's about to lay down and do 140 pounds on the bench, which is a PR. But I didn't want to record that because I needed to spot him. I'm cutting it. Just in case he died. So we started Duffy off with 1-arm presses after the bench press. And this is a little bit lighter than he's normally used to, but he's having to brace his core in a different way. He did say that it felt awkward, and I told him that it would. And that's to get him pre-exhausted for what's going to come next. Good.
Awkward as it was to brace my core in a different way and to try and focus on just one arm while figuring out what on earth to do with the other arm, I found it was actually a lot easier to maintain form with the arm because instead of trying to keep 2 arms aligned to form at the same time, I only had to worry about one side, which made that part a little bit easier.
After he completed the single arm lifts, we went to going with a bilateral press, which he's used to doing. But at this point, we were doing 15 reps for 3 sets, and he was already tired from doing heavy bench and single arm presses.
I can't say that I understand the logic in trying to wear me out before I get to the harder exercises, but that's what Steven had me do. And yeah, my arms are still sore, even though it's been about a week.
And here's the logic. We did increasingly heavier bench press to the point where he was over a new 1-rep max, and then we did some balancing group exercises, and then we wanted to go ahead and pump that muscle full of blood so we can make it bigger.
I appreciate the explanation, but I'm still tired. Regardless, it was time to go get the 25-pound weights. Now, you might be recalling that last week I was able to do 40-pound weights, but I only got to a max rep of 7 on those, and I wasn't as tired as I am right here. Grinding out these 15 reps right here was very brutal, but I made sure to keep my feet planted on the ground and drive through them when needed, and I managed to get them all out, even though it was very hard.
Rest at the top if you need to. I'm really pleased with Duffy's progress in pressing, as his legs are really strong from carrying his weight all the time. His upper body's not quite that strong when we started out. Real quick, before you start, stand up. Get that posture, squeeze that butt, squeeze the abs, shoulders back, push your hips back. You're not squatting to it. You're pushing your hips back. Your knees are going to bend slightly. So push those hips back. This is Duffy's first real, legit deadlift. So I brought Duffy to my dad's house. We're going to train outside. And this is his first attempt at deadlifting. And I wanted to wait to get him on the deadlift because it is a little bit harder to coordinate your body and get everything moving at the same time if you're not used to lifting. But now that he's packed on a little bit more strength and he's a little used to lifting now, I wanted to give it a shot. And he did a pretty good job for his first go.
Squeeze everything.
Push your hips back.
You know, it took a while to learn how to squat properly. It took a while to figure out form for bench presses and anything else that we've done so far. But the deadlift has to be the most confusing and complicated form that I have yet to figure out. There's the issue of moving your hips back in the beginning and then bending your knees, but then when you're trying to get back up, you got to move everything at the same time. And for me, it was just very confusing and hard to get right. But with practice, I'm sure I'm going to get there just as I have with everything else that I've done.
Push those hips back. This is all from your hips. Drive through the when you go to pick it up, you lean back slightly so you got tension on your hands from the bar. As soon as you feel that tension on your hands from the bar, drive through the heels. Right as you cross the knees, really think about driving your hips forward. As Duffy started this rep, he started off okay. He pushed his hips back, but then just as he started to go down, he rounded his upper spine to try to get to the bar a little bit easier. When you're deadlifting, it is very important that from your hip to your shoulder, you maintain posture the entire time. You want to move from the hip, not the spine. Careful on that. Your posture was not so good at the bottom. Keep that top posture a little better. Good.
Yeah, the posture thing is really hard to keep track of. One thing I just cannot wrap my mind around, though, is how am I supposed to know if my spine is bending that way? I don't really understand how I'm supposed to detect that or feel it. My spine is just there, and I don't really know what else to think about it.
The kinesthetic awareness for postural position comes with time and practice. You can't feel it at first, but eventually through verbal correction and doing it yourself, you get a feel for it.
Well, one thing I want to get a feel for is holding this stuff in the first place. The metal just digging into my hands like that made them feel so sore and raw and cold and just, ow!
Whenever you do a lot of gripping, you want to make sure that you also stretch your fingers out and then work the opposing side. You can do that with things like the sand training video that we have on our channel, and that's really good for that. Sometimes Steven forgets things, like pressing the record button. We're picking up farmer's carry for the first time in a while. Duffy hasn't really farmer's walked with anything more than a 15-pound kettlebell in weeks, and now he's walking with 50s in each hand. It's quite an improvement.
From 15 pounds to 50, I gotta say, that's a bigger leap than I ever thought I would be making. But it was doable. In fact, as hard as it was, I feel like the difficulty for myself was pretty much the same as it was with the 15-pound weights. I will now hand it over to Steven to describe the most ridiculous and terrible exercise in the history of humanity.
Part of our training is learning how to pick up very awkward things, so we picked up that 50-pound dumbbell in a very strange way and proceeded to do curls with it.
On this show, we have previously seen me give names to exercises that don't have official names. So to continue this tradition, I would like to christen this exercise the sadist arm curl.
Come on, Duffy, you can do better than that.
Oh, well, I mean, let's see. I gotta lift that thing up, holding it with both hands on the side. Oh, I got it? Curling the cob.
Genius, Duffy. Genius. To do this exercise, you need a really good grip on both sides of the dumbbell. Make sure that you're pressing in and squeezing with your fingers so you do not drop it.
If you look back at episode 6, you'll see that I actually went ahead and did some axe swings and chopped logs, and I was about to do something very similar, but this time with a much heavier sledgehammer.
Swinging the sledgehammer requires a great deal of control because if you swing it haphazardly, you could very easily hurt yourself. You've got one hand low, one hand high, and you come up over the head and slide the top hand down to the bottom hand as you lower the hammer, and you're going to put your whole body into it. Now let's see if Duffy will hit himself with the sledgehammer this time.
Oh, definitely. Just like with the axe. I'm going.
Stand square first. There you go. Wider stance.
What?
Wider stance.
Stance?
Okay, there you go.
So I'm going.
So don't go up that side. No. You're going the opposite way.
This?
A little better. You don't have, now don't slide your hand down until it's actually swinging.
There is a very big difference between swinging an axe and swinging a hammer. And it should have been obvious to me, but it wasn't. But the truth is, an axe does damage by having a nice, thin, sharp, slicing side. And a hammer does damage by being really, really heavy.
So he's got that swing going. You remember that swing that I did with the axe?
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing.
He's not sliding his hand down.
Yeah, well, it's because he's got the rotation. Now watch this. See how he starts to slide as it's going.
Okay. That's what I was doing. I was stopping myself because I thought I had to wait. Alright, try it again.
Whoop, you did it too much.
That was a bad idea.
That was a bad thing.
Very bad idea. This whole week was pretty much nothing but arm workouts. And my shoulders, my arms,
Better.
my whole back.
It was better.
They ache. They ache with a great and powerful soreness. But I'm still excited. The prospect of getting better at all of this is enough to keep me going and training. And I can't wait to see what happens next time. So join us next time for more origin story. I'll see you then. Bye. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. I am so incredibly sore. But if you want to make me feel better, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. I love comments. And I want to let you know about our Patreon campaign. We just revamped the rewards to make it even more valuable to those who support us because we really value your support. So until next time, good luck and train hard.